Hey, Elevate. Welcome to my
Hello,
crib.
Phil. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our channel where we help your real estate investments work harder for you. I'm Samantha, and we also have Phil Gardner here with us today, and he's a sales representative with us at Elevate. And just to introduce him, Phil actually started out in property management and acquisitions with another company, and then afterwards he joined our team on property management. And then since then, he's purchased a couple of investment properties and finally decided to get his real estate license. So now he is one of the sales representatives on our team. So I'm really excited to talk to Phil today. I know he's been doing a lot of transactions during the COVID period, but he's also managed to buy a property for himself to live in and move during this time. So that's why I decided to come and interview him today to see why he decided to move and how he's maximizing the value of his home. Phil, thanks for inviting me over to your home and doing this interview with us. So why did you decide to move and buy this house during May, the lockdown?
Yeah, for sure. So the reason that we bought, the prices were depressed. There was, especially for that April, May, really as soon as COVID hit period of time. And this was one of the only opportunities that we had to jump into this neighborhood that we were comparing to another neighborhood across the city. So we're east versus where we were looking in the west. And this was really the property that preempted all the crazy sales that I had post this purchase. So this was May. This neighborhood is known for multiple offer dates, but in April, in May, almost nothing was moving. We found a great opportunity that came in under our budget. We were able to negotiate. It was listed almost in a rush, so there was definitely some work to be done. It wasn't the sexiest house on the street.
You said the sellers were in a rush to sell. So why did they sell? Do you know?
They moved out to Niagara, I think it was about a year before they listed, and they had the house tenanted. And then as soon as COVID hit, I guess the previous tenants they had left, and they were trying to re-rent it at kind of pre-COVID rents. And as we know, the rents early COVID especially took a pretty quick dip. And since thankfully over here stabilized, but they tried to rent it. Fairly poor photos from the previous tenants. It wasn't in the greatest shape, and they were still really pushing for like top of market rents, and it didn't move. And I guess at that point, that's when they decided to empty out the place and get it listed. But it's still, it had the feel of a couple of rough tenants in the building still. And they like most, I'm sure, early on in COVID thought things were just going to keep going down and down and down, right? So a lot of those properties that did sell April, May, you might have seen a 5-10% discount from the market on the freehold side versus where it's at now. That's, same as year over year or increased even more.
How has the buying conditions changed? Right now it's super hot with freeholds, and how did it feel like when you were buying and selling during that time?
We were lucky to actually get conditions on a deal, right? So it was no offer date, no multiple offers. We got a financing and an inspection condition for, I think it was 7 days. So we had...
Wow, 7 days. That's really long.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of flexibility in terms of the purchase for this place. That was May. And then in June, once a lot of my client deals started to pick up, things really started to get back to almost how they were before. The sexy stuff was still having multiple offers, still having offer dates. The not so nice stuff, maybe the tenanted quality buildings or the stuff that wasn't recently renovated, is a bit more of a balanced market now than what it was in like January, February pre-COVID. But there is absolutely still, especially in the freehold side, absolutely still an attraction, lots of buyers.
So when we talk about rental properties, we're always looking for value add opportunities. And now that I'm in here, I see that you're still doing some renovations. So this actually applies to end user homes as well. So can you walk us through what kind of value add renovations you're doing to this house?
Yeah, of course. So one of the reasons we really like this place is a majority of the behind the walls, not so pretty stuff, but good solid building fundamentals were already done. So the main floor and the basement, and this is a 90-year-old home, right? Like most freehold in Toronto, 90 plus. But the main floor and the basement had already been gutted and re-renovated recently in the past 10 years. So it had up-to-date insulation, electrical, plumbing, all that type of stuff. New windows for all but 2 in the home. Yeah. And fairly decent finishes. top floor, and I should say fairly decent finishes aside from some of the easier lipstick stuff, which is great. The top floor, on the other hand, looks like it hadn't been touched since the place was built. So absolutely no insulation in the walls at all. It was like original hardwood with nail pops coming through. It was the bathroom, the tiles were falling off the wall. So the top floor got completely gutted. And we're thankfully more or less finished that now. But we lived in the basement for a while as we were gutting the top floor, which, if you can avoid it, I don't advise. It was a bit of a chaotic experience, but absolutely worth it now that we're wrapped up. The rest of the house, again, just looked like it had been beaten up a little bit from tenants. So ugly paint here and there, just a little bit gross, but otherwise fairly easily fixable for the main and the basement. Top floor was definitely the biggest value add.
At the end of the day, it's pretty cosmetic still, insulating the walls and changing up the paint. It's nothing major, which is a good thing. We were talking about getting extra income from a basement suite, and you're going back and forth about it, but it looks like you've decided not to go that route and you've decided on something else. So can you tell us how you're planning on maximizing the value of your house?
As many of you know that are watching these videos, we often deal with investment properties. So everything I look at, even personal home, is kind of looked at through a bit of a financial investment lens. Having a separate entrance, the basement, we loved it because it had a bedroom, a bathroom, and they actually already had rough-in plumbing for a bar downstairs, which we could convert to a kitchen. Right. We decided not to rent it out, but knowing that we had the ability to kind of flip a switch and pretty quickly convert it into an apartment if financial situation changed a little bit, there is a nice safeguard for us. We also know, unfortunately, that we can live in the basement if we need to, and
if we tested it out.
That's it, exactly. If we really wanted to go to that level of financial savings, but for us, especially with the two of us working from home now, so my wife Lauren has an office upstairs. I've got an office in what would have been the bedroom downstairs. The living room is going to end up being our podcast studio for the foreseeable future. So to have the ability to do that, both work from home and run the podcast from home, not have to rent out a studio, have all the tax savings and write-offs that come from having offices and a podcast studio and associated expenses in the home, and just the ability to not have to travel to do the podcast or any non-showing work-related stuff is a big savings, and then that way we can really maximize the full space of the home.
Yeah, so basically as a self-employed individual, there's a lot of things that you can deduct as an operating expense. So one of them is a home office. So by using the basement as a podcast studio, he's able to deduct that as a business expense. And on top of that, he doesn't need to go out to rent a studio. So that's extra savings for him. So we'll take a tour of the entire space just to see how the basement looks like upstairs, what he's done, and we'll come back afterwards.
Awesome. Just quick explanation of, I guess, the main floor. Really just paint down here.
Right.
Floors are the same, windows and trim, etc. were the same, but the walls and the trim were all just kind of gross. They had every primary color under the sun in this house, so we really had to give it a little bit more of a neutral tone. Not too much going on in the kitchen. We still want to replace a couple of appliances. That's on the hit list soon. Major thing with the kitchen is just countertops and backsplash. They already had the nice cabinets in, but the countertops were really old black and brown granite, so we had to get those swapped out. So this is where the major part of the renovation starts. Top floor got gutted, so we did the railings. These are new. The carpet on the stairs is new. Because of just the comfort.
Very comfy.
Here, we wanted the carpet. I know it's maybe not as sexy as hardwood throughout. So the bathroom was literally falling off. The tiles were falling off the walls originally. Yeah. But we took
looks good.
Took a full gut to the bathroom. This is office number 1, and this is the pupper. Hi, Cal. I'll just peek in. This is Lauren, my wife, and her office/gym.
Hello.
Okay, Cal, you can stay here. Second room, which is really just storage at the moment as we try and figure out, we need to put up blinds and railings.
Right.
So this is a semi, so this would be the party wall. This was not torn down.
Yep.
But all of the exterior walls were all completely ripped down, re-insulated, vapor barrier, and new drywall. Doors are all new.
Doors are new, yeah.
Trim's more or less all new. We actually bumped this wall out. So where you're standing, this is where the doorway used to be for the bedroom.
Okay.
And the closet was there, a very standard old Toronto semi-detached 2-story layout, right? The closet in the hallway outside of the bedroom. and we bumped the door out to include that.
Okay, so now let's go downstairs.
Cool.
Nice. There's a back door in case you decide to do a basement suite.
That's it. That's it. The separate entrance, always a requirement, just in case. Height's not absolutely gigantic, but we're not huge people.
You just need to have people like us.
That's it, exactly. And it's good for a podcast studio. They actually did the safe and sound insulation, so
Yeah.
it will actually make for a little bit of a quieter space for when we do our podcast recording, which is nice. This is still more or less exactly how it is. You start to see the primary colors I'm talking about, the reds and the blues.
Yep.
This is how the main floor looked as well.
It's a big bathroom.
Yeah, bathroom's huge. There's actually storage under the stairs, which is kind of nice. The shower's in good shape. It's got space for laundry, but it's just ugly everywhere else. So we've definitely got some work to do down here still. And if we did do a rental, I think I'm torn about whether or not I would use this space, like open it up as livable space, but the height kind of gets
Right.
a little
Yeah, what you can do is maybe the kitchen, I don't know, no upper cabinets, you just have the lower cabinets and have that up there.
Something along
Yeah.
those lines. This is the office.
Nice.
Again, more primary
colors.
all sorts of colors. I'll eventually hit this with just a coat of gray throughout.
Yeah.
Same color as upstairs.
Yep.
They've got the rough-ins over in this section running through the ceiling if we did want to put a kitchen down here, or if I want to put a bar down here.
Yeah,
We can
that'd be
record
nice.
the podcast at the bar stool.
So let's go back upstairs.
Alrighty.
So, Phil, thanks for inviting me over to talk about real estate and your home and, giving us the tour. So if you guys want to learn more about Phil, you can check out his podcast that he does with Spiro. And I'll put a link to their podcast in the description below. And finally, we work hard to make these weekly real estate investing videos. So remember to like, share it, and subscribe to both of our channels so that we keep producing these videos for you. I wish you all the best in your real estate investing journey. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.